You can feel the energy inside this building and also across the street. We've got Ferris wheels. We've got red carpets. The NFL Draft has finally arrived in Chicago.
Hi everybody, I'm Hub Arkish, and welcome to our live recap of the 2016 NFL Draft presented by American Family Insurance. You know, it's hard to believe, after all the build up to this weekend, that the 3 days and 253 total picks of this draft are now in the books, and the Chicago Bears now have 9 new players. The first round, well, it was as wacky as any in recent memory. The middle rounds were loaded with talent, and all 32 teams are now claiming victory. Here to help me break it all down, as always, our senior Bears beat reporter Kevin Fishbane, our senior NFL reporter Arthur Arkish. And you know, guys, the biggest news of the week here in Chicago, of course, was the Bears' first pick, and they kicked off their 2016 draft efforts with what proved to be a highly controversial pick locally. So let's go to the podium for the announcement.
So with the 9th pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Leonard Floyd, linebacker, Georgia.
They're going to see a freaking hard-nosed, hard-working player that's always hustling, trying to get to the ball, and they're going to be able to tell I love the game, and I'm going to make sure I showcase that for them.
All right, so what it comes down to, Kevin, is this kid has a ton of potential. He may be the best player to come out of this draft, but he was nowhere near the 9th best player in college football, and that's what's got Bears fans wondering.
I think John Fox, Vic Fangio, Ryan Pace love that ceiling that you talked about. This guy is fast off the edge. He can bend around offensive tackles, probably the most explosive pass rusher in the entire draft. He could be a double-digit sack guy. Could be that guy. You're right. There would have been safer picks, but they want that player who's going to rush the passer. They needed speed and athleticism, and that's what they think they're getting from Leonard Floyd.
Arthur, here's the biggest issue. The Bears are saying we can bulk him up. We can put 20, 25 pounds on him, get him to 245, 250. They're also saying he played at 235. He really played about 225, and if he doesn't get bigger, he's not going to be powerful enough to do this in the NFL.
So what we're really saying here is it's not just a project for the coaching staff, but also for the strength staff. Sounds a little bit like Coronis Grasu a year ago. We know he needs to get bigger. The other issue is you didn't really see the production in the top 10. I think you don't want to gamble quite as much on potential, although as Kevin said, the speed was hard to find elsewhere in this draft.
All right, guys, now in the second round, Ryan Pace goes full Monty Hall on us, playing Let's Make a Deal, and after trading down from 41 to 49 with Buffalo and then going down again to 56 with Seattle, the Bears drafted Kansas State guard Cody Whitehair. Now what's interesting about this pick, most folks had him as the best guard prospect in the draft. He was definitely a top 50 player. They get him at 56, but Kevin, guard, it may be the deepest position on the Bears.
Yeah, before the draft, you would have said guard, wide receiver, probably 2 positions they won't draft a player, but this was clear Ryan Pace, best player available. That spot, Cody Whitehair, as you mentioned, some pegged him as the best guard in the draft. They grabbed him. We know they're going to have a lot of competition in guard. They brought in Ted Larson, Manny Ramirez. This just increases that competition.
All right, Arthur, 4-year starter at Kansas State, team captain, played left tackle, but all scouts agree he's not got long enough arms or is not tall enough to play left tackle in the NFL. He is going to have to go inside.
Yeah, the good news is he's a really good athlete and he is experienced, has that versatility. Whether he's going to play there or not, the coaching staff loves to see it because you never know what's going to happen in the NFL, obviously. But very productive, very athletic, fits the scheme well. But as you guys mentioned, you kind of have to figure out exactly how this is all going to shake out. What does it mean for Matt Slauson, perhaps?
In the third round, the Bears finally stayed home. They used their own pick and made Jonathan Bullard the 72nd overall pick. Kevin, I recommend Bears fans go Google Citrus Bowl. Maybe Florida gave up 44 points to Michigan, but this kid was the best player on the field. He is a real value at 72.
Yeah, it seems when you look at what draft analysts are saying, this might have been the best pick of the draft by the Bears. Again, if you're going to believe some of these scouting reports, what draft experts have to say, he is very quick off the ball. Ryan Pace cannot stop talking about his reaction to the snap. He's got long arms, even though he's only 6'3". They need something in that defensive line, not just to stop the run. They have Eddie Goldman for that, but somebody who can get after the passer, and I think Bullard has that ability.
The only other issue, Arthur, he's also 285 pounds. They plan on him as a 5 technique. Can he set the edge against the run?
He's supposed to be great against the run. He's not your prototype, though. He's a little bit short at, I think, 6'3". You mentioned the long arms, so that's a very good thing, and a very strong player. I hate to keep banging the versatility drum, but he played every position on that line at Florida, so he brings some of that as well.
All right, guys, let's wrap up day 3 now, and we go to the graphic. We show you what the Bears did here. 3 picks in the 4th round. You're talking, of course, about Nick Kwiatkowski, an inside linebacker, coming off first. Deion Bush, the safety. DeAndre Hall, cornerback/safety. In the 5th round, great pick, the running back from Indiana, Jordan Howard. DeAndre Houston Carson, a free safety in 6th. And then a tiny little slot receiver to wrap it up. Daniel Braverman comes down in the final round. And then, guys, immediately following the draft, no, they didn't draft a quarterback. The Bears have signed Brian Hoyer. He will be the backup to Jay Cutler. Now, you know what, guys? We're running quick here. We got a lot to get into this show. We've got a ton more to come. And coming up next, we'll bring you all the hottest news, scoops, and rumors from the 2016 draft. We'll run down what the Bears' NFC North opponents did this week. And then later, we'll take you out to Draft Town and visit with our very own Kerry Sayers. That's all just ahead on Chicago Football Now's Draft Special, presented by American Family Insurance. So stick around.
Welcome back to Chicago Football Now's Draft Special, presented by American Family Insurance. It's time for The Way We Hear It.
Yes, it's time now for a favorite feature of ours, The Way We Hear It. And this weekend in Chicago, we heard a ton about the Chicago Bears. Now, guys, we know that Ryan Pace was very busy making trades, drafting, but did he do more trading than drafting? We have multiple reports. I did Thursday night that the Bears attempted to go up and get Jalen Ramsey. The asking price was just too rich. They did trade up for Leonard Floyd. In the 2nd round, I've heard reports that they tried to make a deal with the Dallas Cowboys before they took Jalen Smith. Couldn't do that, so they traded down twice. Now there are also reports coming from ESPN and other places that in the 4th round, the Bears actively tried to get Connor Cook in a trade with Cleveland. The Raiders offered a better price. They did make 4 trades. Kevin, nobody saw Ryan Pace being this active coming into this draft.
Well, I think Bears fans have to be happy about how much confidence Ryan Pace has in his convictions and his scouting department. Remember, last year he had Phil Emery's scouts, most of them. He had a couple of his personnel guys, but this is his staff. He's very confident. John Fox, Vic Fangio, his coaching staff has been together for a year. If they see a guy, they're going to go after him. So even if you maybe don't agree with the player they drafted, you have to like that they go get the guy that they want.
All right, they're calm, cool, and collected. They're still making deals in the 4th round when picks are coming fast.
I think it says a couple things. A, we've seen Ryan Pace be this aggressive on the pro personnel side, very much so with trades, but he's also in his 2nd year now. He's developing his contacts, and it was nice to see that if the trades didn't work out, he didn't panic and he stuck to his formula.
All right, guys, that is The Way We Hear It Draft Special Edition. Folks, after weeks of mystery, the Los Angeles Rams finally made it official as to who exactly they paid a king's ransom for. They made him the #1 overall pick. Let's hear the announcement.
With the first pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Jared Goff, quarterback, California.
Goff is the pick, and yes, that booing went on mercilessly for Roger Goodell all night long. But guys, the Rams decide that Goff is better than Wentz. It justifies the Philadelphia Eagles, who wanted Wentz. They got him at #2. A little bit of a surprise at #3 when San Diego goes for Joey Bosa. No surprise that we all knew Jerry Jones really admired Ezekiel Elliott at #4. Jalen Ramsey, maybe the best prospect in the draft, at 5. Ronnie Stanley, we've now hearing all the stories on Thursday night when Stanley goes about what's happening with Laramie Tunzel. DeForest Buckner to San Francisco. Jack Conklin, the Titans come back up and get him. There the Bears trade up for Floyd. And then Eli Apple, the biggest surprise of the 1st round. But Kevin, I think the most interesting one here, Zeke Elliott. Jerry Jones was in a can't-lose situation. He went for the running back he coveted.
I think Ezekiel Elliott is a special talent. People talk about devaluing the running back. When you watch Elliott, see what he did at Ohio State, think about that Dallas Cowboys offensive line, what he'll be able to do behind that, complimenting Tony Romo and Des Bryant. I think it's a great pick by Dallas. They didn't try to do anything crazy to go get a quarterback. They got the best offensive skill player available. Remember, a couple years ago, he tried to get Adrian Peterson. We know Jerry Jones likes running backs. He gets his guy in Zeke.
All right, we're going to take a look now at what happened in the NFC North in the 1st round. We already know the Bears, of course, at 9. They go Leonard Floyd. At 16, the Lions take Taylor Decker. Laquan Treadwell falls to the Vikings at 23. And then Kenny Clark, a really nice pick at 27 for the Packers. Arthur Jonathan Quinn, the new GM up in Detroit, he went chalk. He's building foundation, did a nice job. Treadwell, great pick for the Vikings. Kenny Clark in Green Bay. That's a football player and a typical Ted Thompson pick.
Yeah, it really is, and we knew they had a need there. Obviously, B.J. Raji taking his playing hiatus. He goes and gets Ted Thompson. That is the best nose tackle available, and Kenny Clark is going to bring a lot to that defense that has not been able to stuff the run, and a really nice job, a really nice replacement there for Raji.
All right, guys, it's time now to have a little fun, mainly at my expense. We did some mock drafting last week, and we're going to go back and take a look at how we all did. Arthur will come up first, and we'll show you where we hit and where we missed. Arthur, you're a winner. Go ahead and crow.
Well, it gets back to Ezekiel Elliott. I just had a feeling that was going to happen. It was the Joey Bosa pick, the surprise one at number 3 that made the next two kind of easy to foresee. Ezekiel Elliott kind of solves defensive issues for the Cowboys as well, and then the Jaguars. That was the biggest no-brainer in the draft, getting Jalen Ramsey.
Kevin, you had the first 2 right. Nice work there. We probably all could have. I was stubborn. I refused to, but you did get the first 2 right.
I got the first 2 right. We could end it right there. I didn't get any of the others right. I will say this. I did one mock draft where I did actually have Leonard Floyd going to the Bears, just not the one, of course, in our show. The Key Hub, you got to do as many mock drafts as possible to at least take credit for something you got right.
All right, guys, now I get to explain being the big loser in this whole thing. After Arthur matched 4 of the top 10 picks correctly and had 7 of the top 10 picks named, Kevin matched 2 players correctly, only had 6 of the top 10. I had 7 of the top 10. I just didn't have anybody with the right team, so that kind of went south on me. Let's take a look at how we did in the NFC North. Arthur, well, I mean, we all struggled. Bottom line, good picks there. At least Arthur's guys all went in the first round. He hit on nobody. Let's take a look at what Kevin had to say here. Kevin, also very interesting. He was praying for Ezekiel Elliott. You notice Kevin's got a Zeke Elliott thing going on here. I actually did hit one, okay? I had Taylor Decker going to the Detroit Lions. But I also had the Bears taking a guy who ended up to be the 47th pick in the first round. So, you know, guys, mock drafting is tough. I think it's more interesting to look at what's happened now, what the chances of success are. I think the NFC North got a lot better. Arthur, it's your beat, I know, for USA Today in addition to Chicago football now. I like what all these teams did. You mentioned earlier John Quinn, the rookie up in Detroit, really started to build the foundation there. He did a Jim Finks thing working on the offensive and defensive line.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was much like the other Bill Belichick disciple in Tennessee and John Robinson. Bob Quinn was very committed to the offensive line. It was the biggest weakness on the Detroit Lions last year, and I just have to credit the Minnesota Vikings, one of the smartest organizations in football. They go get Laquan Treadwell, who we all believe is the best wide receiver in the draft, and then Mackenzie Alexander. They don't have a need at cornerback, but Alexander's a stud, and he's going to be the nickel replacement for Captain Munnerlyn. It's just an embarrassment of riches, and the rich got richer.
I think I just gave Bears fans flashback nightmares. Have I been calling Bob Quinn Jonathan Quinn? God, I'm going back a ways, guys. You can't do anything about that. Of course, it's Bob Quinn up in Detroit. We've got to take another break, but next up, we will take a trip to Draft Town to check in on the fan festivities with Carrie Sayers on our Chicago Football Now's Draft Special presented by American Family Insurance. Welcome back, everybody, to Chicago Football Now's Draft Special presented by American Family Insurance. It's time now to take a step back and focus on the Draft Town festivities here in Chicago this week, brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters. Our Carrie Sayers has been at Draft Town much of the weekend. It's my pleasure to welcome her in now to fill us in on what it's been like out in Grant Park.
Well, Hub, while you guys are doing all the real hard work back there in the studio, I had a chance to come out and have some fun here at Draft Town in Grant Park, where the 3-day party has officially come to an end about an hour ago, in fact, and you can probably see the crews are already hard at work tearing everything down now. There were more than 20 football fields full of attractions and exhibits, and as you're about to see in this great piece by photographer Chaz Elling, despite the weather, a good time was had by all.
Year is that Chicago loves the draft, so we've extended our footprint in the park. We've put Selection Square, which is really the heart and the epicenter of the draft. That's all the way back by Buckingham Fountain, so the rest of the park is full of everything fun that has to do with football and the draft, like a new Ferris wheel that we have as a fun ride for folks, so we're excited.
I think this is amazing. Yeah, so much fun. There's so many people, and it's just a beautiful way to start the spring.
I love Draft Town in Chicago. They should keep putting it in Chicago because it's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. I think there are a few different things. For our kind of avid fans, the Selection Square is really an incredible place to watch the nerve center of the draft, to see teams making their selections, hand in the cards, do that piece. But then also kind of those old school things like running the 40-yard dash or kicking a field goal. It's hard to beat those as well. Kids and families alike love that. So a lot of great activities going on.
All right, have you run the 40?
No, I have not, and I think it's best that I don't.
We know that everybody in Chicago loved Draft Town last year, and we hope that what we've done to modify and make it bigger and better just have more people come down to celebrate with us.
We love the backdrop, and yes, it's a little bit chilly out, but this is football weather, so way to go, Chicago.
Yeah, myself, I'd love to see it here every year, and I think it's a great city for it. I mean, we can accommodate all the people that are coming into town. We've got the facilities to really set it up nicely. And I think from this year, I mean, we've set the bar pretty high for another city to take it on, because I'll tell you what, for all the fans, this is just such a great experience.
Right. It does feel like football weather out here. I can attest to the fact that I had to dig my down coat out for this one, but it didn't discourage the fans from coming out. 225,000 came through Draft Town during the 3-day event. Now, as far as next year's event, an NFL exec told me this afternoon that multiple cities, including Chicago, have all expressed interest about hosting, and the league expects to decide later this summer on an exact location. Wrapping things up from chilly Draft Town here in Grant Park, I'm Carrie Sayers. Now let's send things back to you in the studio hub.
Carrie, thank you so much. And you know, guys, let's be honest. Last year, Chicago won the lottery with the weather. This year, not so much, as Carrie reports, but I was out there Friday night broadcasting live on the radio. Great crowds. Nobody cared about the cold. That's what you got to love so much about Chicago. It's what makes it the greatest city in the world. It was a great time again. Almost 250,000 people in Draft Town. Congratulations, Chicago. You got it right. Up next, we'll break down the Bears' 2016 schedule and talk about the remaining plans for the offseason. But first, we'll find out where our hometown hopefuls have landed. There's a lot more to come on Chicago Football Now's Draft Special, presented by American Family Insurance. It's now time to check out our hometown hopefuls. It's brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters. Now, folks, Laquan Treadwell from right here in Crete-Monee has star written all over him, and now we know exactly where he'll be this fall.
With the 23rd pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Laquan Treadwell, wide receiver, Ole Miss.
It's an amazing experience. It's a humbling experience. I'm grateful and honored that I'm a part of the Minnesota Vikings organization. So I'm going to go into the team and do my best and play my hardest and just enjoy this time with my family. It's been an honor to be here in Chicago, where I grew up and played ball. And I couldn't be more happy.
Well, Arthur, you got a chance to visit with Laquan on Thursday night. His daughter is absolutely adorable. I still don't believe he was the fourth receiver off the board. I don't care about the 40 time. He is the best receiver in this draft, and other teams were obviously drafting with a stopwatch.
And he's going to be, you're absolutely right, and he's going to be an excellent fit with the Vikings, because that's not a team that really wants to push it downfield. So if there are concerns over Treadwell's speed, and I don't have a lot of them, he plays super fast. He's going to be a beast in the intermediate part of the field, and it's going to open things up for not only Teddy Bridgewater, but Stephon Diggs and obviously Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, Kevin, can't forget Stephon Diggs' breakout season last year. Neither won a burner, though. They're probably still looking for a little more speed, but suddenly Bridgewater has a nice pair of receiving threats.
Yeah, to get that big receiver that Arthur talked about. And also look at the adversity that Laquan Treadwell has overcome after that frantic leg injury he had a couple years ago at Ole Miss. To come back, I think the Minnesota Vikings, among all teams, really appreciated that.
All right, guys, next off the board from the local kids, Graham Glasgow, who went to Marmion Catholic. I'm sorry, maybe Marmion Central. But a great story came out about him today that I was not aware of. Jim Harbaugh gets there. Glasgow, a little off the field issue. He says, we got to make a change. They bring his 81-year-old grandmother to Ann Arbor, and they move into a small apartment together through his senior year. The kid got better and better all year long, and Arthur, the story I've heard is that he loved living with Grandma, that it was better hanging out with the guys, and it paid off pretty well in the draft.
Yeah, the question is Grandma coming with Graham Glasgow to his new home? But yeah, it's a really good story, obviously. Got his life in order, and, it was rewarded with a generous draft spot and a bright future, it would appear.
All right, Kevin, Antonio Morrison off the board next. You've got, of course, Dan Vitale and Dean Lowry both got drafted. It was a good day for all of our hometown hopefuls.
Yeah, Vitale goes to the Bucks. That was the team that was most interested in him. And then Dean Lowry goes to the Green Bay Packers, so he'll be kind of close to home, the Rockford grad. And, of course, Crystal Lake's Fawn Cooper goes to the 49ers in the 5th round.
All right, guys, we've got to take a very quick look at the Bears' 2016 schedule. It's official now. We haven't really been over it. They open at Houston, Philadelphia, Dallas, Detroit. Tough opening for Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Green Bay, Minnesota in the first half. Then they get a bye, perfectly placed in the middle of the season, at Tampa Bay, at the Giants, Tennessee, Frisco. They've got 4 of 6 at home down the stretch. They finish with Minnesota. It's looking pretty good for them. Unfortunately, guys, we're just about out of time, and that's going to do it for Chicago Football Now Draft Special Edition presented by American Family Insurance. We want to remind you, don't forget to check us out 24/7 online at ProFootballWeekly.com and at WCIU.com/sports. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you all in the fall. From all of us here at WCIU, the U, good night, everybody.